Class 9 students, very good morning and welcome to another online physical science class. Today I am continuing matter. Today's discussion topic: viscosity, streamline and turbulent flow, terminal velocity, flow of fluid, Bernoulli's theorem, applications of Bernoulli's theorem, atomizer or sprayer, and other applications. Any liquid, say water, in a pot after stirring is left for some time. The motion of it subsides. What stops the motion? It is found that in a fluid, liquid or gas, when there is any relative motion between the parts of the fluid, internal forces opposing the motion are set up in the same way as the forces of friction in the case of solids sliding one over the other. Thus, a less quickly moving layer of fluid exerts a retarding force on the more quickly moving layer, the motion of the latter being thereby reduced, while that of former accelerated, and in this way the relative motion between the two layers gradually decreases and finally stops with respect to the walls of the stationary container. So from this idea, viscosity is coming. What is viscosity? The property by virtue of which retarding forces are developed within a fluid when there is any relative motion between its parts is called viscosity of fluids and differs in degree from one fluid to another. So viscosity is a measure of the resistance of a fluid to deformation under shear stress. It is commonly perceived as thickness or resistance to pouring. Viscosity describes a fluid's internal resistance to flow and may be thought of as a measure of fluid friction. See the diagram: water, olive oil and honey. Three fluids are there and their viscosity has been shown over here. Now streamline and turbulent flow. The flow of a fluid may be of two types. One is streamline and other is turbulent flow. In streamline flow, the path of any particle of the fluid is always directed along the line of motion of the fluid, and each particle in the fluid travels in exactly the same path called a streamline as the particle preceding it. A streamline may be either straight or curved, and the velocity of the fluid at a particular point in streamline motion remains constant in both magnitude and direction, although it may vary from point to point. Again, if the parts of the particle of a moving fluid are completely irregular and random, the flow of the fluid is called turbulent. In such a motion, the parts of the fluid particles do not coincide with the line of motion of the fluid as a whole. Professor Osborne Reynolds stated that the motion of a fluid changes from a streamlined motion to a turbulent motion at a certain velocity called critical velocity is exceeded. Its value is fixed for the fluid at a given temperature. For flow through a tube, it depends also on the radius of the tube. For fluids, the effect of pressure on viscosity is small. For wide range of pressures, gases are independent of pressure, but at very low pressure, the viscosity gradually decreases with the fall of pressure. The viscosity of liquids generally decreases with rise of temperature. The viscosity of gases increases with temperature. So, laminar flow or streamline flow in pipes or tubes occurs when a fluid flows in parallel layers with no disruption between the layers. And turbulent flow is a flow regime characterized by chaotic property changes. This includes rapid variation of pressure and flow velocity in space and time. See the diagram. First one is laminar flow. So direction is parallel direction. And second one is turbulent flow. So it's not at all parallel direction. Now the next one is terminal velocity of an object in a viscous medium. Terminal velocity is the maximum velocity attainable by an object as it falls through a fluid. Air is the most common example. And second point is it occurs when the sum of the drag force, that is Fd, and the buoyancy is equal to the downward force of gravity, that is Fg, acting on the object. See the diagram. It is perfectly describing these 2 points. An apple is falling down. So here drag force is equal to weight. That means Fd is equal to Fg. Two identical solid balls are dropped at the same time. Another example I am giving. One into water and other into glycerin taken in two different tall glass jars. In water, the ball descends more quickly than in glycerin, showing that viscous drag in glycerin is greater than in water. When a small spherical body falls freely through a viscous medium, it acquires a maximum constant velocity after falling through a certain distance in the medium. This constant velocity acquired is called terminal velocity. As the body falls through a medium, its velocity goes on increasing due to gravity. So the opposite viscous drag acting upwards also goes on increasing. A stage reaches when the weight of the body is just neutralized by some of upthrust due to buoyancy and the upward increasing viscous drag. After some time, upward and downward forces balance each other and the body now starts falling with a constant velocity called terminal velocity. It is found that the terminal velocity depends on the radius, that is, size of the ball, densities of the material of the ball, and the medium and viscosity of the medium. Flow of liquid. First I am telling you flow of fluid. Fluid flow is a part of fluid mechanics and deals with fluid dynamics. Fluids such as gases and liquids in motion are called fluid flow. It involves the motion of a fluid subjected to unbalanced forces. First you see the second diagram. Here two taps are there. First one is laminar flow, just now described, or streamline flow you can say. And the second one is turbulent flow. See the picture carefully, you will understand. Now, let us consider non-viscous liquid. A non-viscous liquid in streamline flow through a tube of varying cross section. So, if A1 and A2 are the areas of cross section of the tube and A and B and volume V1 and V2 are the velocities of flow of liquid. Also let ρ1 and ρ2 be the densities of the liquid at A and B point. Thus, volume of liquid entering per second at A point is equal to A1 into V1. Please see the first diagram, you will understand. And mass of this liquid is equal to A1 into V1 into rho 1, because rho is the density. Similarly, volume of liquid leaving per second at B is equal to A2 into V2, and its mass is equal to A2 into V2 into rho 2. If the flow be steady and there be no loss of liquid, then we can say A1 V1 rho 1 is equal to A2 V2 into rho 2. As the liquid is incompressible, then here rho 1 is equal to rho 2. So that we can say ultimately A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2, or AV is equal to constant. Thus, larger the area of cross section, smaller will be the velocity of liquid flow, and vice versa. Now, Bernoulli's theorem, first derived in 1738 by the Swiss mathematician Daniel Bernoulli. The theorem states in effect that the total mechanical energy of the flowing fluid, comprising the energy associated with fluid pressure, the gravitational potential energy of elevation, and the kinetic energy of fluid motion, remains constant. So Bernoulli's theorem states that for the streamline flow of an ideal liquid, the total energy, that is the sum of the pressure energy, potential energy and kinetic energy per unit mass, remains constant at every cross section throughout the liquid flow. The theorem is on the principle of conservation of energy applied to a liquid in motion. Now, consider a tube of varying cross section through which an ideal liquid of density rho is in streamline flow. You can see the previous diagram. P1, V1 and H1 and P2, V2, H2 are the pressures, velocities and heights of liquids at A and B respectively. So it can be shown that from here it can be shown that P1 plus 1 by 2 rho into V1 square plus rho into G into H1 is equal to P2 plus 1 by 2 into rho into V2 square plus rho into G into H2, where in SI units P is equal to static pressure of fluid at the cross section, rho is equal to density of the flowing fluid, G is equal to acceleration due to gravity, V is equal to mean velocity of fluid flow at the cross section, and H is equal to elevation head of the center of the cross section with respect to a datum. So this is Bernoulli's theorem. Thus, pressure energy per unit mass plus potential energy per unit mass plus kinetic energy per unit mass is equal to a constant. Only this principle is in your syllabus. Proof I have not given because it is not in your syllabus. So remember this principle along with the theorem. Now there are some applications of Bernoulli's theorem. So list of the 4 applications of Bernoulli's principle. First one is airplane wings. Second one, atomizers or sprayers you can say. Third one, chimneys. Fourth one, flying discs, and etc. Some example I am explaining so that you will understand. First, I am explaining lift on an aeroplane wing. The shape of an aeroplane wings, that is aerofoil, is made in such a way that its upper surface is curved more than its lower surface. As the aeroplane moves forward due to the peculiar shape of the aerofoil, speed of air V2 above it is much larger than the speed of air v1 on the lower side, that is v2 greater than v1. And so, according to Bernoulli's theorem, ρ1 greater than ρ2, hence the aerofoil is lifted upward. How wings lift the plane? Airplane wings are shaped to make air move faster over the top of the wing. When air moves faster, the pressure of the air decreases. The difference in pressure creates a force on the wing that lifts the wing up into the air. So factors that affect lifting of an aeroplane. See, the object, shape and size, the motion, velocity and inclination to flow, the air, mass, velocity and compressibility. Second example is atomizer or sprayer. What is it? It is an object used for spraying. For example, a spray bottle, while atomizer is an instrument for reducing a liquid to spray or vapor for disinfecting, cooling, medical use or perfume spraying. It is based on Bernoulli's principle. It is used for spraying liquid like perfume, etc. A common form of it is shown in this figure. You just see the figure. When the rubber bulb is squeezed, the air blows in the tube with high speed. According to Bernoulli's theorem, low pressure is produced in the tube. This pressure is less than the pressure in the container. This pressure difference makes the liquid rise in the vertical tube and then blown away through the nozzle in the form of fine spray. So all atomizers work on the principle of airflow and suction. When horizontal air passes over a vertical tube, it causes the air and liquid inside the vertical tube to be pulled upward. Classic atomizers use a squeeze bulb to store a lot of air that moves quickly over the feeder tube when squeezed. Now the last example that I am going to explain. It is dangerous to stand on the edge of a platform when a fast-moving train passes the platform. Why? Bernoulli's principle explains why it is dangerous to stand near a moving train. The principle suggests, since the kinetic energy per unit volume of air near the train is high, the pressure of air near the train must be low. A person may experience pull towards the train due to the low pressure. When a fast-moving train passes a person standing on the edge of a platform, the person is found to be drawn towards the train. It is because a fast-moving train produces large velocity in air in between the man and the train, and so, according to Bernoulli's theorem, the pressure decreases. Thus, excess of pressure on the other side pushes the person towards the train. So, it is dangerous to stand on the edge of a platform when a fast-moving train passes the platform. For any doubts or queries, please email me at sudeshna1.sma@outlook.com. Even you need to send your physical science assignment in this given email ID. So thank you students and have a nice day.